Hey guys, this is HerO from DifferenceInSkill bringing you guys a bit of a grudge match that I played on BYOND today. This guy, he actually commented on my last BYOND video episode saying that he was going to find me and challenge me, so I accept his challenge. So I said, okay, I'll probably never see this guy on. And I go on BYOND today, and the first thing that happens is I get challenged by him, so he's clearly been stalking me. No, I'm just kidding, it's fine. So I'm playing Galahad Paladins versus his Majesty Lord Blaster, clearly using the best deck in his arsenal in order to play me, which is fine, you know. There's nothing wrong against playing MLB. I mean, I'm not going to hold it against him. So yeah, I didn't get a pretty good hand, didn't have a good hand, so I mulled everything except for the Akane, including the Palamides, because I played greedy and I didn't want to ride the Palamides. Because I'm greedy like that, so I get the grade 2 Galahad, the grade 1 Galahad, because as we know I want those in my hand. No I don't, I want them in my deck. I get a heal trigger, and my last card is in a Soul Day, so my hand's both Galahads in my hand, not what I want. I want them in my deck to be able to maximize chances of me getting pluses off of them. But what am I going to do? He flips over Winged Brave, I flip over Drongal. I draw into Alfred, which makes his hand a ton better now because I have a grade 3 and I have a really good grade 3. So yeah, I draw into a Margle, a critical trigger, a Pongle, a critical trigger, and an Alfred. So not a single Galahad was seen that day, not in the grade 1 or the grade 2. So not seeing a grade 2 there is okay for me. That means that I'll have a relatively better chance of checking it next turn to check the top 5. Since I do have the grade 1 in my hand, I'll be able to check for the top 5 for the Galahad again next turn. So I'll just unbind all my cards whenever BYOND stops lagging, and then I'll ride the grade 1 Galahad. And I'll end my turn. He draws. And he rides Maron. He will ride Maron. He will ride Maron. And he rides Maron. And he's going to move Winged Brave to the back, right behind the Vanguard. Now this tells me that he pretty much has a Blaster Blade in his hand. If you don't have a Blaster Blade in your hand and you put the Winged Brave behind the Vanguard, that just means that you're going to be boosting your Vanguard with a Winged Brave forever and a day. So if he doesn't have a Winged Brave, he doesn't have a Blaster Blade in his hand, then that's a bit of a misplay. Unless he rides Majesty and I let him hit for some reason, is do a search with it. If not, then he's just going to be swinging for 15 or 17 or whatever. So it's not the most ideal of plays. So that basically tells me that he has a Blaster Blade in his hand. So I check the top 5 for the Galahad. I don't get it, of course. So Alabaster Owl is there, though, never fails. So I put back the Soul Savior, put back the Margle, put back the Kane, put back the Blaster Blade, and put back the Alabaster Owl. And I do have the grade 2 Galahad in my hand, which will end up riding because I don't want to ride a Kane because that'd just be silly. So I put them all back, unbind my cards, and I ride the grade 2 Galahad. Now here, I do not go for the Maron on the side to attack his Maron because I know that he most likely has a Blaster Blade in his hand. So when he rides, I don't want him to +1 for no reason by killing my Maron. So I'm just going to attack with the Galahad. I'm also not going to put the Maron behind my Vanguard because I have an Alfred in my hand, and Alfred doesn't require a booster. That booster is better off spent on a rear guard column. So I'll just leave my field as it is, and I'll check a heal trigger, which I healed. Any damage checks on a Lien. So good stuff so far. So he stands and he draws. He's gonna ride. What do you know? Blaster Blade. Okay, so I was perfectly right in my prediction, of course. So he's gonna ride Blaster Blade, of course. He's gonna attack with the Vanguard first, which is a bit of a misplay. He should be attacking with the Galatine because if I get a damage trigger, then the Galatine won't be able to hit anything. But I'm not going to guard here. It's not really worth the risk. So he's going to check a Blaster Blade, and if I get a damage trigger, okay, so I don't get it. He gets lucky, and I damage check a Blaster Blade. And yes, he gets lucky because if I got a damage trigger, then I wouldn't be able to. He wouldn't be able to attack me again. So yeah. So he uses a Winged Brave skill, and he's probably gonna search out Majesty Lord Blaster because he just checked the Blaster Dark. So Majesty Lord Blaster is probably the next best thing. And yes, that's exactly what he gets. Moves Majesty Lord Blaster to his hand, shuffles his deck, and he's going to attack my Vanguard with the Galatine. I don't really have a 5k shield to give him at this point in time, and I kind of do want the Counterblast to be able to use Akane's skill. So yeah. So here in Grade 2 Galahad, even though you don't ride it, you have to check the top 5. So what I'm going to do is just check Control T to check the top card of my deck. I don't care what it is, I'm just going to put it to the bottom of the deck, because I don't run the Grade 3s, and it's much faster to do it this way. So after this, I'm going to ride Alfred, of course. Alfred's a pretty good card. Then I'm going to call Akane, which is also a pretty good card, which allows me to search for Toy Poogle, which is another pretty good card. I mean, there are no bad cards here. These are all really good cards. So yeah, I'm going to search for the Toy Poogle, and here I'm going to debate whether to put it behind the Akane or behind on the other side on the empty column. And the reason why I put it in the empty column is because right now I don't have another Grade 3. And if I put it behind the Akane, then the Akane is going to be swinging for 14 against the 10k, 12k Vanguard next turn. So since I have the Maron handy, then I'm just going to be called the Maron before the Akane to be able to hit for 16, which is a much better number than 14. And my Alfred is still able to swing for 16 because it's Alfred, and you can just swing for numbers for no good reason. So yeah, I'm going to attack, and he's going to take it. He's going to check heal trigger, which he will. There we go. He checks the heal trigger. So I'm going to attack the Vanguard anyways. He's either going to take it or he's just going to drop another 5k. It's really not, doesn't really, like, Galatine is not a threat right now. I'd rather just force that extra card out of his hand or the intercept with the Galatine rather than just attack the Galatine, which he's obviously just going to let die. He also has a Blaster Dark in his hand, so these are all attacking rear guards that he has a bunch in his hand that might as well just not attack the Galatine. So he guards it for the Margle, stands and draws, and now he's going to ride. He's going to ride Alfred early. Okay. And at first, when I was playing this game, because this is not live, obviously, when I was playing this game, I actually didn't quite understand why he rode Alfred early instead of MLB. But then it hit me that it was kind of obvious. He just needed the Blaster Blade. The Counter Blast 2 for killing Akane, it was just a bit of a plus. It was a bit of a bonus. He just really needed that Blaster Blade in order to use MLB skill next turn. He's going to ride MLB next turn. I know he has a Blaster Dark in his hand, so he'll have both the Blaster Dark and the Blaster Blade and the MLB ridden next turn in order to be able to use its effects. So yeah. So here we go. Galatine swings on my Vanguard for 10. Right now I have 2 boosters out. I don't need a booster for Alfred, so I'm just going to give him an easy 5 in the form of a Pongle because I don't need a Soul Saver right now. I'm in no need of a Soul Saver right now, so I'm just going to give him a Pongle. I'm a little bit undecisive, but yeah, I'm going to give him that Pongle. Don't need that. And he's going to swing on my Vanguard for 10. I'm just going to give him a 10k. It's not that big of a deal. He's going to need 2 to pass, and he's just going to check. He's going to check 2 Starcall Trumpeters. Okay, so I'm going to call 2 Starcall Trumpeters. In my opinion, you should not. I don't think Starcall Trumpeter is that good at all, actually. She's AK, requires Counterblast, and some people run like 3 Dark, 3 Blade, 3 Starcall Trumpeter, and that just makes no sense to me, because if instead of running Starcall Trumpeter which requires Counterblast, why don't you just max out on the Blaster units and save that Counterblast for Blaster Blade and stuff? So yeah, I don't think Starcall Trumpeter is worth running at all. In my opinion, the Grade 3 lineup for MLB should be 3 Bedivere, 4 Blaster Blade, 4 Blaster Dark. I'm done. That's really all I can see being the most ideal. But either way. Anyway, so I swing for 18 on the Vanguard because it's Alfred and I don't need a booster to hit for good numbers. So I check a Soul Saver Dragon and a Palamedes. Oh, hell yeah. 2 Grade 3 check. Day and night. So yeah, at this point I'm just like, that kind of sucks, but yeah, it's Palamedes, so I can't really be sad about it because of the Palamedes. Oh, also this turn, the reason why I put the Lamorak in front of the Toy Poogle and the Maron in front of the Alfred, there's actually a reason for this. It's because if I put the Alfred in front of the Toy Poogle, then I'm locking that column up, and I'm locking up that Toy Poogle. When a Palamedes and that can use that Toy Poogle to swing for 22 on the 12k MLB. So I want that Toy Poogle available to me, so I put an Interceptor in front of it in order to free it up next turn for the Palamedes. So I targeted both my rear guards, attacked his Blaster Blade. He dropped 15 because my Lamorak was swinging for 19 on his 9, and then he dropped another 10 with the Galatine, and then he intercepted with the other Galatine, and I targeted the Blaster Blade because, well, he needs the Blaster Blade for MLB, right? So that he really needs that card, so he's using up his hand in order to keep that card, in order to be able to use it next turn, because I know that he has a Dark and the MLB in his hand. So he's going to ride MLB, as expected. Wait for it. And wait for it. Okay, there we go. So he's going to ride MLB as expected. He's going to call the Blaster Dark on the right-hand side, and wait for it. Yeah, Beyond has a lot of lag. Alright, so he's calling the Blaster Dark. And, so yeah, the Blaster Dark's not going to do a whole lot. It's going to be the Blaster Blade that's going to attack first. He's going to swing for 10. And I'm just going to give him a 10, because why the hell not? It's an easy attack to guard. And then MLB is going to use his skill. He's going to eat up Blaster Dark and Blaster Blade, and he's going to gain 2k power and 1 critical. So it's going to be swinging for 22 crit 2 for this turn, because on the turn that you eat up Blaster Blade and Blaster Dark, it also gains 10,000 power. But at this point, I don't really care, because I run 4 perfect guards, and I'm just going to perfect guard that shit up. And he gets a critical trigger, and he gets a draw trigger. So I would have lost if I have guarded for 2 to pass. Good reason to run 4 perfect guards. Anyways, I didn't have the chance to intercept with Lamorak that turn, so my 22k column is just going to have to wait for a little bit. So I'm still going to swing for 18 for no good reason, because Alfred is just Alfred. And he's going to perfect guard this attack. There's really no reason to perfect guard it at 3 damage, but I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's not that big of a deal, and I'm just going to check. I'm going to check a draw trigger, first draw trigger, and I'm going to put the power on the right-hand Alfred, so that a column is swinging for 23. And then I'm going to draw a card, and that card is going to be, of course, a critical trigger. What else would it be? And then I'm going to check another draw trigger. Oh my god, I'm so good at this game. And I'll put the power on the left-hand side, Lamorak, and I'm going to draw another critical trigger. So I just got 30k shield in my twin drive check, which is pretty good. Pretty good. So I'm going to swing for 24 on his 12k. And then I'm going to swing for 23 on his 12k. He's going to need 15 to guard. And he surprisingly does guard this attack. Now, I do think that that's a bit of a misplay, guarding that attack, because the way I see it is that usually when I guard for 15 or rear guard attack for 15 while I'm at 4 damage, it means that A, I would have to guard for 20k, I would have to guard the Vanguard for 20k for 2 to pass, and I don't want to do that, so instead I'm going to gamble that he doesn't get a trigger next turn, so I leave myself at 4 damage. A critical trigger next turn, so I leave myself at 4 damage. But in this case, the maximum Alfred can swing for is 20k, which requires 15k for two triggers to pass, right? So guarding that rear guard for 15k was a bit of a misplay. Could have used that 15k to guard my Vanguard and then just kept 15k in his hand for 1 more turn. It's a lot safer to guard a Vanguard for 2 to pass than to no guard a Vanguard when you're at 4 damage. So I think that's a bit of a misplay. I guess the way I see it, it's a misplay. So he calls Palamedes. Palamedes is a good card. Palamedes is a really good card. 22k column, and then he puts up a toy pool behind his MLB. So he has 2 solid place columns. He has a 21 and a 22k column. So I'm gonna finally be able to intercept with that Lamorak. So I'm gonna have 20k for 2 to pass. Don't want to take an MLB to the face, even when especially when he gets a critical trigger. I would have lost if I had just taken it. So he's gonna put the power and critical all in the Vanguard. So he's gonna try to go for the finish here, but he's not gonna get it. He checks a Wingull. Not sure why he's running Wingull. And he's gonna swing with Palamedes. I'm not gonna guard that. I'd rather die than guard Palamedes. So yeah, I'm just gonna take that, no problem. At 4 damage, I draw into Pendragon, and at this point for a bit, I'm seriously debating whether to ride Pendragon or not. The reason why I didn't end up doing it was because I didn't have a booster, and I was seriously debating writing Pendragon and then putting a Margle behind it. But then I realized that I'd just be using 2 cards to swing for 19 when my Alfred can just swing for 18 because he's Alfred and doesn't need a booster. So I'm just going to call up Paladin on the side. That's a solid 22k column against a 12k Vanguard, so that's a really good number to hit. So I'm swinging for 18k on his 12k Vanguard. So he's going to need 15 for 2 to pass or 10 for 1 to pass. And he's going to give me minimum guard, as in 1 to pass, 1 trigger to pass. And at 4 damage, that's a huge misplay. Because there's no point in guarding at 4 damage for 1 to pass, because if I get a critical trigger, you lose. If you don't guard and I get a critical trigger, you lose. So there's really no point in giving me minimum guard when you're at 4 damage. You might as well just not guard, right? If you can't afford to guard, then just don't guard instead of giving me minimum when you're at 4 damage. Especially when you're at 4 damage, like who cares? Like you're just gonna have to take the risk that I don't get a trigger, and giving me a minimum guard on the gamble that I'm not gonna get a critical trigger is the same thing as if you just didn't guard. So it just literally gave me 10k for no reason. So I have a 22k column and a 23k column. So he's gonna need 15k each. That's at least 2 cards per attack, and he only had 3 cards in his hand. So I know that I won the game. And he also misplays here because he guarded the first attack with the rest of his hand, and then takes the last attack. What he should have done is taken the first attack, knowing that he can't guard both attacks. If he gets a heal trigger, that means that he only needs 2 cards to guard the second attack. So, yeah. But he doesn't get a heal trigger, so it's no difference. And, yeah, that's GG. And so, yeah. That's the game, guys. If you guys want to see me, if you guys want to challenge me, if you guys see me on Beyond, then go ahead, go for it. I may or may not record it like this game. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and HerO's out.